10,000 years ago, somewhere in Africa, someone finds a beehive. Not a snack, not a treat. A once-a-year windfall of pure sugar, and there is no reason on earth to stop eating until it's gone. That instinct kept that person alive. And it's the exact same instinct sitting in your body right now, staring at a bag of chips that never runs out. Here's the thing almost nobody says out loud. Your cravings are not a design flaw. They're the opposite. They are the finished product of hundreds of thousands of years of testing, refined by the simple fact that the humans who craved these three things survived long enough to have children, and the ones who didn't mostly didn't. Salt, sugar, and fat. Three flavors your brain treats completely differently from everything else on the planet, and every single one of them solved a specific problem that could have killed you. Let's start with sugar, because it's the most misunderstood. In the world your ancestors lived in, sweetness was information. Nothing in nature that's poisonous tastes sweet, or at least almost nothing does. Sweetness meant ripe. It meant safe. It meant fast energy your body could burn immediately without doing any work to break it down. But here's the part that matters. Sugar was rare. Wild fruit isn't the fruit you buy at the store. It's smaller, more fibrous, more sour, and available for a narrow window each year before it's gone. Honey was rarer still. Modern hunter-gatherer groups like the Hadza in Tanzania consider honey one of the most prized foods they can get, and getting it means climbing a tree, dealing with smoke, and accepting that you're going to get stung repeatedly. Nobody works that hard for something their body doesn't desperately want, and your brain doesn't just enjoy sugar when it arrives. It files the entire event away, where you found it, what the tree looked like, what time of year it was, which direction you walked to get there. The reward chemistry involved isn't really about pleasure at all. It's about motivation and memory, about making absolutely certain you can find that place again next season. So evolution built a rule that made perfect sense at the time. When you find sugar, eat all of it, right now, because it will be gone tomorrow and you don't know when you'll see it again. That rule never got updated. It's still running in your head every time you open a cabinet. Now fat, which is arguably the more important of the three. Fat is the densest energy source available to a human body, more than double the calories per gram of sugar or protein. In a world where the next meal was genuinely uncertain, that density was everything. There's a phenomenon researchers have documented in populations relying heavily on lean wild game, sometimes called rabbit starvation, where people eating plenty of very lean meat still deteriorate because protein alone can't sustain the body without enough fat or carbohydrate alongside it. You can eat until you're full and still be starving. Ancient humans figured this out without knowing any of the biochemistry. They just knew that the fatty parts of an animal, the marrow, the organs, the fat around the gut, were the parts worth fighting over. Archaeological sites show bones deliberately smashed open to get at the marrow inside, over and over across hundreds of thousands of years. That wasn't a preference. That was a priority. And in many groups, the fattiest parts of a kill weren't distributed randomly. They were distributed carefully according to who did what, who was owed what, and who needed it most. Fat wasn't just food, it was currency, and everyone at the fire knew exactly what it was worth. Salt is the strangest of the three, because unlike sugar and fat, your body cannot make it, cannot store much of it, and loses it constantly. Every time you sweat, you're leaking sodium. And humans sweat more than almost any animal on Earth, which is exactly what made us such effective long-distance hunters in the first place. Our greatest physical advantage came with a permanent tax attached, paid in salt, every single day. And sodium isn't optional. It's the mineral your nerves use to send signals and your muscles use to contract. Without enough of it, your body stops working correctly and in extreme cases, stops working at all. Animals in the wild will travel serious distances to reach natural salt licks, and humans did the same thing. Some of the oldest known continuously worked sites in the world are salt sources. There's a site in Romania where people were extracting salt from brine springs roughly 8,000 years ago. And once humans realized salt didn't just keep bodies working but also kept meat from rotting, it stopped being a mineral and became a technology. Salt later became so valuable that it shaped trade routes, funded empires, and started wars. All for something you now shake onto fries without thinking about it once. So 3 cravings. 3 real problems, 3 solutions that worked flawlessly for almost the entire history of our species, And then, in a period of time so short it barely registers on the timeline, we solved the scarcity problem completely and never updated the software. Here's what actually broke. In nature, these three things almost never appear together. Fruit is sweet, but it isn't fatty. Meat is fatty, but it isn't sweet. Salt is a mineral you have to go find on its own. Your brain's reward system was calibrated for a world where finding one of these things was a good day. Modern processed food combines all three at once, in ratios that don't exist anywhere in nature, engineered specifically to hit the strongest possible response. That's not an accident or a conspiracy. It's just what happens when an industry optimizes for what people will buy again. And your ancient reward system, which was built to make you extremely motivated to find rare things, has no defense against something that was designed from the ground up to be exactly what it's looking for. There's a second failure, and it's about effort. Every calorie your ancestors ate had a price attached. You climbed for honey. You tracked and carried an animal for hours. You walked days to a salt source. The reward was always attached to work, and the work put a natural ceiling on how much you could consume. Think about what that ceiling actually did. It meant the craving could be as loud as it wanted because reality would step in and shut it down long before it became a problem. You couldn't overeat honey because there wasn't more honey. That ceiling is gone now. The distance between the craving and the reward is about 4 seconds and 1 arm's length. And there's a third one, quieter than the others. Your body still runs on the assumption that famine is coming. It doesn't know about grocery stores, it doesn't know that food will be there next week and the week after. So it does what it's always done, which is push you to store energy while energy is available. Because for almost all of human history, the fat you carried was the only savings account that existed. What we now treat as a problem to be fixed was, for hundreds of thousands of years, the single most reliable insurance policy a human being could have. None of this means you're helpless, and none of it means the craving is in charge. Understanding where it comes from is genuinely useful because it changes the question you're asking. It stops being, "What's wrong with me?" and becomes something much more accurate and much easier to work with. Why is this so much harder than it should be? And the answer is that you're running very old software in an environment it has no reference point for. So the next time you find yourself standing in front of an open fridge at 11 at night, not really hungry but looking anyway, understand what's actually happening. That's not weakness, that's 100,000 generations of ancestors, every single one of whom survived long enough to pass this instinct down to you, all quietly agreeing that you should probably eat the thing while it's still there. They were right. They were right for 300,000 years. They just had no way of knowing that one day it would always still be there.